Hi, my name is David Batsoffen, and I host a travel blog called Travel and Things. And this is a series of In Conversation With. And today, my guest is a man who I'd like to say needs no introduction in the guiding industry, but for people who don't know who he is, let me run through some of his accolades. He has identified over 817 bird species in Southern Africa. He has logged 19,000. Let me repeat that. This is not Jacob Zuma with 1177. 19,600 hours on trail walks. 35,000 kilometers have been on trails in the wilderness. Over 4,500 meaningful encounters with the Big Five, and he's guided over most of Southern Africa. He's also walked Cape to almost Cairo, and that's 12,000 kilometers in 22 months. And recently, he had nothing else to do, so he walked 1,000 kilometers in 20 days. Who am I referring to? None other than the Bruce Fordyce of trail walks. It's Bruce Lawson. Bruce, how are you doing?
Hello, David. Yeah, no, I'm doing well. I'm doing a lot better than I was yesterday, but I'm doing well.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning of this challenge, and then I'm going to go back to the beginning of your trails guiding career. This challenge started off as, what was it, 150 Ks in 3 days. So how did it go from that to over 1,000?
I would like to say through sheer tenacity, but I think it was a moment of insanity. Yeah, so David, I pretty much started this walk, and a mate of mine, Sean Patrick, who's also very well known in the guiding industry, been guiding just as long, all the accolades and that. He said, no, he'd join me. Like in the 11th hour, the night before, 9:15, the night before I was going to start, he said, what you got in your pack? I'm doing it with you. So it was, whoa, okay. Now I've got a mate doing it with me, and he's 650 kilometers away in KZN in Natal.
Right.
And the challenge then was just the last 3 days of stage 5 lockdown. We could not go anywhere, so we were just going to walk around our garden for 150 kilometers to see if we could do it. And then that evening, which was the 27th of April, we went to visit a friend of ours. Please don't tell anybody that we escaped the lockdown, but we went to visit a friend of ours just to have some drinks with her just for her birthday. She lives just on the other side of the estate here. So we snuck around there, and I told her what I was doing, and she said, well, why don't you do it for charity? And I said, I think it's a little bit late now.
Right.
Being German and having her Swiss buddy there and her Zimbabwean diehard hippie buddy there as well, they decided, no, it's never too late. And so that night, while I was sleeping and preparing myself mentally for 150 kilometer slog in a 400-meter circle, they set up a foundation. They found a charity to walk for. And the next day when I woke up, they said, we've got a cause. This is what you're walking for. Let's go. So Sean and I started walking, and every step we were walking, we were raising money, which was, it's a huge incentive. How it went from that 150 kilometers to 1,000 kilometers, well, with my guiding and with my instructing, as you know, at Eco Training, up in the far north of the Kruger National Park, I was training backups. And these backups heard about what I was doing, and they're all over the world now. And this particular two, Jody Cole and Brian Kelly, are in the States, and they decided that a good backup in their training, a good backup will take over from the lead. If the lead gets fatigued or something happens to the lead or something, a backup will take over and carry on with the trail. So they decided, no, this is a good time. We finished the 3 days. They're going to pick up the baton, and they're going to carry on for the next 3 days, the next 150 kilometers, so that this thing could keep its traction and raise money.
Right.
And so when they told me this, I said to them, well, you know, a good lead would never leave a backup in the field. So I pledged to do the next 150 kilometers with them. which we did. So I carried on. Sean, unfortunately, was very badly injured, and he's also got family commitments with young kids and all of that. So he had to pull out. He took over driving the motivation from the sidelines, and we continued for the next 3 days. And then more backups heard about this, so they picked up the baton. And I said, well, I can't, back up 3 while they're doing their first challenge. I have to back everybody up. So I pledged to do another 1,000 kilometers, which at the end we did, with a lot of backups coming to the fore.
But now these backups, as you say, are all over the world at the moment. So how many people actually completed this 1,000 kilometers or a portion of, and how many are still walking, Bruce?
I'm not sure exactly how many have completed, because there are still some people walking, but there are 74 walkers in total. And I think there's only 3 or 4 that haven't completed that are walking at the moment. So that would make it 71 or so that have completed the 150 kilometers. And they've done it in different ways, because not everybody, the challenge was 150 kilometers with an 18-kilogram backpack in 3 days. Now, not everybody is capable physically of carrying an 18-kilogram and doing 50 kilometers in 3 days with that backpack. So they've done a 50 kilometers as solidarity to the others. And some people, Dee, my wife included, have walked 150 kilometers, but in 10, 15, sometimes 20 kilometer patches throughout the time, getting to their 150 kilometers. And some other people, Quentin Swanefelder, who's at Singita in Lubombo, in the Sabi Sands, he ran up and down the airstrip for 150 kilometers. So him and a guy, Jomi Krob, in Ireland, they ran 150 kilometers in 3 days. So some people have run, some people have walked the 150 kilometers in the 3 days without the backpack. Some people have walked with the backpack, and other people have just walked in solidarity.
So the backpack, what did that consist of? I know you said 18 kilos, but what did you put in? Was it stuff that you'd normally carry while on a trail, or it was just stuff you had at home?
Absolutely. No, it was absolutely everything. I have a tendency of doing a trail, and I come off the trail and I clean my stuff and I dry it and I air it and everything, and then I pack it all back into the bag in case I go out in a hurry again. So I've always got my bag packed. So all I had to do really was just add a few kilograms of water, and I was ready to go.
But you didn't end up carrying your rifle with you, did you?
No, thank goodness. The warthogs here aren't that dangerous, so I thought I'd be fine.
But now, how big is your property? I know that when the lockdown started for me, in order for me to keep some sort of sanity and rather just sitting and writing all day, every day, I tried to walk around my garden. But a kilometer in my garden is 11 times around the garden. And as far as I was concerned, that was mindless. So I used to do sort of 1K in the morning and 1K in the afternoon, and then I'd have to walk in one direction and then reverse it. How big is your property that you were prepared to do 50 kilometers a day, Bruce?
Well, we live on the Hoedspruit Wildlife Estate, very fortunate enough to live here. And we've got half-hectare stands.
Okay.
So on the actual perimeter, I'd walk up to the tar road. I'd walk down the tar road for 50 meters. I'd walk down the eastern perimeter between us and the neighbors. I actually extended it a little bit further than I should have at the bottom, but there's nobody down there. So I went a little bit further around the bottom and then came back up around on the western side of our property on the neighbor's yard line. We don't have fences around our property. It's one of the rules of the estate so that the game can move through.
Yeah.
But now I do have a very well-worn elephant path all the way around our perimeter.
and you know every mile marker on that route, no doubt.
I know that route really well now. I can do it backwards, forwards, blindfolded, in the dark. I could probably even do it on my hands.
Bruce, let's go back in your career, and we'll work our way forward to where you find yourself now. And also, I suppose I should ask you now, were all the walkers, all of those 74 walkers, were they all raising money for the same charity, or did each of them choose their own charity?
No, all monies raised by all the walkers has come into this Tembo Foundation, and
Mm.
we're walking for the Hlokomela Herb Garden, who have they started an initiative beforehand of making food parcels for local communities
Right.
um, that were that were left destitute when tourism collapsed here
Mm.
from the COVID pandemic. And they were raising money and putting food parcels together for that. And then with the collapse of tourism, unfortunately, all the deliveries that they were making to lodges around here and to the local restaurants, that all fell flat. So there was no more funds for them anymore. So we took on the project to raise money for them to get food parcels out to all those people left destitute
Yeah.
from this pandemic. And that's
Can,
all the money raised by all the walkers has gone to this cause.
do you know to date how much you've raised, Bruce?
I think as of yesterday, not all the money has come in. But if
Mm.
we tally up everything, and once all the money is in, we should be at about 530,000.
Wow, I think that's absolutely stunning. I really and truly do. So well done, not only to yourself, but to Dee, who are probably behind you every step of the way, or at least some of those steps, and to everybody else who was involved in that particular walk.
Absolutely, and I think the biggest thanks has to go to what we affectionately term as our HQ team. So the three girls at the headquarters who have put this thing together, who have kept it going, has kept everybody motivated, have done the social media, have done the media, have done absolutely everything. They are the true champions in this walk. They are the ones who have raised that money. All we've done is walk. They've
Well,
done the hard work.
well, let's just see. I've got an app on my phone that does applause. So I don't know if this is going to work, but let's give them a round of applause, shall we?
Perfect.
There we go. So let's go back in the life of Bruce Lawson.
Sure.
Guide is guide, but you decided to walk. So take me back to the beginning of your career and what brought you, and pun intended, down this particular path.
Well, David, I think it goes back a lot further than just my guiding career. So, if you don't mind, I'm going to go back to early childhood.
That's only
When
about 10 years ago.
Yeah, but I'll be very quick.
It's all right. We've got
Thank you.
this is the beauty of Zoom interviews, Bruce. I'm not limited to the time like I would be on a radio or television show. So let's chat.
Excellent.
Take me back as
Excellent.
far as you like. Once upon a time,
Excellent.
long ago.
So I'll take you back to the beginning.
Yeah.
In a land of No, I won't take you that far. But we're going back to early childhood. I was involved in a very bad car accident at a very, very young age, which left me unconscious for a very long time, but also left my pelvis shattered.
Right.
With the prognosis of that was very, very limited in that I would ever be able to walk again. And if I was ever able to walk again, I would probably never be able to walk without aid of some sort or the other.
Right.
So after 6 months of recovery and repair and traction and legs all over the place in hospital, I eventually got myself walking. I mean, you can't really tell a 4-year-old that he's never going to be able to walk again when everybody else around him is running around in that. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like, you, I'm going to walk. It's just one of those things that a little kid does. They get up and they walk. So following on from that, a development from that was I think it's a viral infection that goes into the hip joint, the head of the femur, known as Perthes disease. Now, this Perthes disease in those days, very restrictive because they didn't really know what it was and they didn't know what the cure was. So they immobilized you in plaster of Paris from your hips to your ankles, at a 45, you can see my fingers like that,
Yeah.
with a bar between the knees and a bar between the ankles. And I was in plaster of Paris for 2 years. So they
Wow.
kept me like that for 2 years in a wheelchair. My brothers thought this was great because they had something they could carry me by, like a suitcase. So it was great for them. And when I got out of hand, they just used to hang me up by these bars. So it was really, um, and I didn't see myself as being abnormal. I was just different to other guys.
Yeah.
There was nothing restrictive about it. I mean, I could do wheelies on my wheelchair. They couldn't even ride the wheelchair. So there was nothing really restrictive about it for me. However, that 2 years and then the prognosis of possibly never being able to walk again, 10% chance of being able to walk again, I think subconsciously that has planted itself somewhere deep in the recesses of my filing cabinet. And that has just set me up for all I want to do is walk. So coming forward to the start of my guiding career, there was nothing really else to do other than to get out there and be a trails guide. I mean, being I don't want to say Jeep jockey because that sounds derogative, but being a guide on an open vehicle, that was great for me to learn from. And it's the best way for guides to learn animal behavior because you see a lot of them, you get up close to them, and you can see their animal behavior close up. I was always one for getting out there and walking. And luckily, the people I worked for at that time in the Manualeti Game Reserve, they were walking is the way to go. The more you can get people out there on foot, the better. And we were given free rein, get out there, go walking. So that's kind of where it all started. My guiding career, that is, the love for the bush and just wanting to be in the bush, that started from a much earlier age with a father who was an ornithologist, always going out on field trips. I would always go with him, so we were always spending time out in the bush. My dad was very instrumental in getting the Songomvelo Game Reserve proclaimed. The Songomvelo Game Reserve is on the border of Mozambique of Swaziland and Barberton, that whole area,
Right.
plus Barberton, so that Highlands area there. And for 3 years, we spent every weekend, almost every waking hour, walking around, traipsing in the bush up there, doing bird surveys. So that was just a unique opportunity, and that just cemented my love of being outdoors and wanting to be out there and walking. So from there, and from an early age on other game reserves, Sandringham Game Reserve, close to the Auckland Gate, just spending so much time out there, pretty much my whole life. Every waking hour I was out there because my dad's uncle was a warden on a reserve there. So in between all these other bird surveys, we always used to go to Sandringham Game Reserve.
So when you were at school, Bruce, was there no doubt in your mind that this is a career choice for you, or was there something in the back of, I don't know, your parents going, maybe you should get a proper job to fall back on just in case?
I don't really know what was in my parents' heads then, other than they supported me in pretty much whatever I did. They supported me. I think guiding wasn't a job in those days. It was kind of frowned upon. If you were a bird watcher, you were kind of looked at a little bit funny. If you were a nature lover, you were definitely cooked. So it wasn't a conscious thing that I did, but it was just something that I did. And when I came out the army, came out the military, I had spent a couple of years down in Antarctica on Antarctic expeditions. From experience I'd gained in the military and qualifications I got there as a medic, I volunteered and went down as a medic to Marion and Gulf Island. And when I came out of that, my father had started Lawson's birdwatching tours. So it was a natural progression for me to slot in there. But being pre-94, tourism was almost as slow as it is now. There just wasn't a lot coming to South Africa. So One day, somebody came into his office just to chat to him, somebody he knew, Zimbabwean guy, and said, they've got a property on the Manueleti, but they're just looking for somebody to manage it and to guide while they're not around. And I put up my hand and said, I'm your man. And that was it. And that's where it started. So that was in 92. So that's where it all started.
Can we just go back? You alluded very briefly to your military career, but I know you were a parabat. How do you go from somebody who was in a plaster cast for 2 years to jumping out of an aircraft, Bruce?
Well, the first thing you do is you don't tell the military that you were disabled, and you kind of keep that quiet. Otherwise, they would have put me behind a desk, and I would have been filing, papers for my military career. But so I went in there, and I just thought, well, if I tell them what I'm doing, there's going to be a problem, and they're going to not let me do what I wanted to do, because advice I got from my brothers who had been there before me, they said, go in and just do as much as you can in the 2 years, learn as much as you can. It's 2 years of your life. Try to come out there with something, whatever it is, even if it's just a good experience. Don't go there and sit on your backside and do nothing. Just get out there and do what you can. So I went in and I was called up to the medics, which was a very frowned upon unit in those days, because, it was infantry. They were the ones who did everything. They were the ones who got all the action. They did all the work. Everybody else was a lesser human being.
It's like drummers in a band. They always score the women.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. So we called up to the medics, and after basics in the medics, I volunteered and passed the selection to go on operational medical orderly course, so ops medics. And then after ops medics, or while we were doing ops medics, the boys from the special forces units came around and started talking to us, because now we were in kind of a second phase of training, and they came and spoke to us. And you have these guys walking in with their purple berets and their jump jackets and their nice big shiny boots and wings on their chest and everything. And I thought, I want to be one of those. So went through that selection, managed, I have no idea how, but I managed to get through. And then one of the courses that we did was jumping out of airplanes. So I wasn't a parabat, but I did a parachute jumping course from the unit I was in. So I wasn't part of the parachute battalion, even though we did their jump course.
Now, you mentioned your dad and birding, and now I understand, because I've had the privilege and the pleasure to have walked with you in the bush. And now I understand how you do what you do. You hear like the rustle of wings in a bush, and you'll go, that is a. And I don't think anybody has ever proved you wrong, Bruce. Least of all me.
Yeah, I think it's not just knowing the bird, but it's knowing everything about the bird as well. It's knowing the habitats, knowing their habits, knowing when they're there, when they're not there. So it's all well and good. A lot of people will look at a book and they'll go, oh, that's the bird we saw. And that's it. They don't read up about it. They don't do anything about it. But when you actually find the bird, it's always good to move your eyes to the left-hand side of the page and actually read up a little bit about what they say about that bird.
Yeah.
Because then that helps you to remember. And a lot of people don't do that. But David, it's like anything. If you don't practice, you don't get good.
This is it. And, us weekend warriors, and I include myself in that because I'm not in the bush as regularly as you are. And even more specifically now, while in lockdown, I mean, the year that I spent with eco training was fantastic because I was in the bush twice a month, and it was glorious. But now we've got to take a slightly different tack, and it's become more book knowledge and technical than actual out in the field. But how, going forward, firstly, what is going to happen to Bruce? And what would you say to youngsters who are at school at the moment who are thinking about going into guiding as a career?
Okay, let's go back to the first one. What's going to happen to Bruce? I have absolutely no idea. I mean, I'm jobless at the moment, with no, well, there's no future in tourism at the moment.
Right.
I think tourism is only really going to pick up next year. Uh, so for me, I don't know. But I am fortunate. I've got a roof above my head at the moment. We've got a little bit of money put away, which is not going to last forever, but it's helping us until we can find something that we can carry on with. So,
Right.
yeah, it's concerning, but it's not going to rule my life worrying
Mm.
about that. Like my mother always used to say, she used to say, if you worry, you die. If you don't worry, you still die. So
Yeah.
why worry?
Exactly.
So I don't know what's going to happen with me, and I don't know what we're going to do. But whatever comes along, we'll grab it by both horns and we'll hold on for as long as we can.
Right.
As for people coming into the guiding industry and people want to take up guiding as a career, I would say to them, think about what you want to do first, and remember, guiding, it isn't just a job; it's a
Mm.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
So if you want to go into this lifestyle, which is not all glorious, it's not, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of hard yakka behind the scenes, and it's hard work. You're dealing with people all the time. If you want to do that, remember it's a lifestyle, it's not a job. You
Yeah.
don't do it from 9 to 5 and go home. Uh, you live there. You
I
live it,
think
you breathe it, you eat it.
I think, Bruce, a lot of people make the mistake where they see somebody go, is a field guide, and they go out on a morning drive with him. They may see them at breakfast. They see them again in the afternoon, and they believe that that guide does nothing during the course of the day. And it's much like when I was in show business many years ago. People would say to me, "What do you do?" And I'd say, "I'm a lighting technician and designer at a local theater." And they go, "But what's your real job?" And I
Yeah.
go, that is my real job. Yes, but you only work for an hour and a half at night when the production is on. And I go, that's not quite how it works. There's
Yeah.
daytime work, there's maintenance, there's all sorts of things to do other than what you see between 8:30 and 10:30 type of thing. And I think
Yeah.
it's the same for guides. Am I right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And people say, I know it used to freak my father out. Um, his mates, our mates, family, friends, when he comes back from a tour or something, say, "Oh, you've just come back from holiday again," and it used to absolutely freak him out, because it's not. It's really not a holiday. It's
Yeah.
hard work, um, and unfortunately, remuneration and salaries are not good.
Yeah.
Really not good.
And they're
So
not
it's a
congruent
tough
with,
one.
they're not congruent with the amount of hours and the work you put in.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you are expected to have all those qualifications coming into the industry, which is fine. Every industry needs that and
Mm.
expects that. However, you are not getting remunerated for those qualifications that you
Yeah.
get. I don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you must come in and start making a lot of money and not doing the work. Start at the bottom, work up, but there is no really working up, because the higher you go up the ladder, the quicker they get rid of you because they got to pay you more.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult situation, but it's a lifestyle and a job. Um, it, I would, if I did it again, I would do it again. Yeah, if I had another chance, I would do it again.
Now, having been with you at the eco training camps, I've seen what you do to the students. And aside from just, I should imagine that if you had a crane, you'd make them jump up off the top of a crane. But I've seen your bush gym and what you've made them do. And it doesn't matter who they are, what size, what sex, what race, what color, what creed. If they're working with Bruce Lawson, they are running, jumping, and by any stretch of the imagination, not standing still, Bruce.
Yeah, and David, it's a true, yeah, it's true. I get people to get involved, and there is no excuse for not getting out there and doing something.
Yeah.
So, fitness is a huge part of my life. I can't do without it, and you don't need it. You don't need anything. You just need space where you can lie down, and there you've got enough space to do a workout. So
Yeah.
yeah, being set up there in the Makuleke with Eco Training, I had time to set up to get weights, to get all sorts of stuff. And yeah, as you saw, every day in the middle of the day, instead of going for a siesta, I used to get those who wanted to, the volunteers, to come out, and we used to do a different workout every day, just to keep guys active and keep them fit. And it's amazing how people changed in that short time that they were with me. In those 28 days, you know, those people grew exponentially. I'm not saying physically. I mean, they did change physically if they stayed with the program, but they just grew here amazingly. And that's why now I've got 74 people who have come out and joined me on the walk. That's just because of that.
I was saying to you just before we started recording this that on certain of the social media at the moment, there are a variety of different post a picture of whatever the picture is, but with no explanation. And you sort of wonder, what is the end goal? And then they always tag somebody. And then you sort of go, really, did you have to tag me? And more importantly, do I have to post a picture? The answer is no. But as I said to you, I think that those 74 people have just proved exactly what you have said. You are a mentor and a motivator to the point where people sitting in America who never had any thoughts of walking 5 kilometers, let alone 150, have gotten off their rear ends and have decided to follow you and to follow your example because of what you did for them when you worked together with them, maybe even just for those 28 days. You've left a legacy that will last them a lifetime, Bruce.
Absolutely, and you know, all kudos to them for actually stepping up and stepping forward and saying, right, I'm going to do something for this. But David, I didn't want to be one of those armchair critics that is you can so easily be. You can sit on your lounge, drinking, if you've got any left, drinking your gin and tonic or your whiskey while watching a program on Netflix, complaining that you don't have anything, you don't have a job, you don't have anything. But there are people out there who don't have anything, who have absolutely nothing because the tourism industry has collapsed. So I just thought, I don't want to be one of those people. I'm going to step up and I'm going to put myself on the line and I'm going to walk out there and I'm going to say, right, look at me. I'm not well, but I'm doing this to help other people. And the more crazy the things that you do, the more crazy they are, the more people like it and the more they are willing to part with their money. And in 3 days, we had raised like 60,000. 20 days later, we've got 530,000. So
I think it's amazing. I really and truly do. And I'm hoping that the baton has been passed on. I'm sorry that Sean had to give up, and I'm hoping that he's going to be okay. And that there are other guides who will now pick up the baton and go, all right, so Bruce did 1,000, we'll do 1,200, we'll do 1,500. We'll just keep walking until we get to the other end of the continent and let's see if he can catch us. But now you said,
I'm hoping there is that as well. But I think I was just very lucky in this time in that it's lockdown. So I had time to do it. Not everybody's got time to do it.
True enough. But now I know that you've been having medical treatment for your knees and your legs. Are you having psychiatric help as well to get you over this hurdle, Bruce?
I didn't think I needed it.
Let's go back to trails walks, because people think walking in the bush is easy. And you just put on a pair of shoes and off you go. You don't have to take, maybe you'll take some water with you, maybe you won't, a snack or two, and then they'll just stumble off into the bush. But it's not just that. This is not a hike through Delta Park here in Joburg, where the only thing that's going to attack you is a cyclist as they rocket past you on one of the walking trails. Being in the bush is a whole different experience. And you, if you're going to go out with a guide, you need to be able to trust them that they know what they're doing, because you're putting your life in their hands.
Absolutely. And And I think going out for a walk in Delta Park with those cyclists is probably more dangerous than walking out there if you're with someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's less dangerous. So, yeah, absolutely. And it's not as easy as just putting on your khaki shorts and your khaki shirt and you're a guide and off you go. Walking out there, and especially the type of walking and wilderness trails that Sean and I do, it's very much put on your backpack, put everything you've got for 5 days in your backpack, and we're going to go out there and we're going to sleep under the stars
Yeah.
for 5 days and 5 nights. And that is true wilderness guiding. That's what motivates me, is being out there doing that.
Yeah, it's not let's go out for an hour and a half after breakfast and then we'll come back to the lodge for lunch and then you can have a nice relax in your room and then we'll go out for a drive in the afternoon.
Yeah, no. I think no.
I remember the first time I met you, Bruce, was at NJ Moore at their guiding school. And I went out on a couple of walks with you, but 2 of them remain with me. The one was a lioness that we found. And she knew where we were and we knew where she was. And you were nonplussed about the fact that we were in that particular situation because you explained to us how the distancing worked. You know, she wasn't going to get up and charge us because we were too far. And we were able to stay and watch her for quite some time. And the other one was an elephant bull that you walked us towards. And I remember you saying the object of a trails walk is to get into a sighting and out of the sighting without the animal changing its behavior. And that elephant didn't even realize we were there.
Yeah, those are 2 things. That's once again that. Well, I suppose it comes with experience as well.
Yeah.
But also your own comfortability with that animal. And David, what it boils down to is your intention. So these animals now, this just proves I might need psychiatric help. But these animals do not communicate with each other like you and I are. We're talking to each other.
Yeah.
These animals use body language and they use energy to communicate. They know exactly what's going on around them all the time because they're in tune with nature. And they also finely tuned to changes in nuances in what's happening around them, changes in energy. And I firmly believe that if you go into a sighting and you're nervous going into that sighting, you've already given your position away. If you go into that sighting with the intention of, wow, that is a spectacular animal, let's go up there, let's have a look. Yes, it's a big elephant, it's this, it's that. But if your intention is pure and you're just going up there to view the animal without wanting to cause any harm or anything like that, 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, it'll always go in your favor. You've just got to be prepared and you've got to know that when it doesn't, how to react. So that's very important.
Now, I know that in your career, you've had instances where you've had to go back to, what would they call it, extreme force to stop situations. Yes. And it's not, I should imagine, knowing you as I do, that it's not something that you set out with the intention of doing. If something charges you, it's going to be a last minute pulling of the trigger in order to save yourself or save the people that you're walking with. And it cannot be an easy decision for somebody like yourself, somebody who is so in tune with nature, to end the life of an animal because you've walked into a situation that's incorrect and you can't extract yourself from.
Absolutely. It's not what we want to do. It's not what we trained to do, and it's not why we walk out in the bush. We don't want to go out there with a gun thinking, we've got this gun, we can do whatever we want to, and if the proverbial hits a fan, we can just shoot our way out. That's not the intention at all. In fact, one of the fundamentals of guiding on foot and teaching people how to approach an encounter is that you approach every situation and every encounter with animals as if you are unarmed. So if you're walking in there saying, I'm getting closer, but I got a gun, it's wrong. It's like,
Yeah.
how close would you go if you didn't have that rifle? So
Yep.
that's what you must do. And yes, I mean, having to shoot an animal, it's a life and death situation. I mean, if you don't, you're going to die, and so your client's going to get hurt and possibly die as well. So you do leave it to the last minute, sometimes too late to your own detriment, like what happened to me. And I had to go for a whole shoulder repair from an elephant because I shot too late, and my shooting wasn't as good as I always thought it was. But luckily, that's why you have a backup, and the backup shot the elephant off me when it was coming down to finish the job. So, yeah, it's not something you want to do. But also, just to clarify for your viewers, I've had just about 4,500 encounters, and I've unfortunately had to shoot 2 animals. So that puts into perspective how little it can happen, and that's over 19,500 hours.
Right. And over how many years, Bruce, now? 30 odd years.
Yeah, I've been guiding since 92.
I know there's a lower limit for guides, because I think they've got to be, 21 to get a PDP here in South Africa, which means they can't drive until they're 21. But is there an upper limit for guides? Do you see yourself, I don't know, at 75, still out in the bush walking on a regular basis?
I hope so. If I'm still alive at 75, I would really like to be out there leading trails, but I would like to be out there leading trails, not making a living from trails, but doing it because I want to do it.
Yeah. And do you think that might this, hopefully when tourism comes back, that there is a resurgence? And are you finding, or pre the lockdown, let's go back to that, pre the lockdown, were you finding that there were more people who wanted to walk? And I'm talking across ages now. So it's not limited to the 18 to 35-year-olds who think they're fit.
Yeah, no, absolutely, David. I mean, before this lockdown and this whole pandemic started, there was a definite shift over the last couple of years of more and more people wanting to do, I don't know about walks at lodges, but definitely more and more people coming to do trails, and more operators who are starting to pick up on trails and do trails. Now, I think after this pandemic has gone, more and more people are going to be in touch with themselves, because they've had a lot of time to be HI. They've had a lot of time, and they're going to realize, but hang on, we're not here indefinitely. So let's get out there and let's go do those things that we want to do. And most people, I would say 99% of people coming on safari are going to change their attitude, and they want to go out there walking. Well, I hope so anyway.
Well, I do, for your sake. Bruce, thank you. Before I say goodbye to you, if people want to get in contact with you, maybe they'd like to donate to the fund, even though they haven't walked, or maybe they're making plans for 2021 and they want to come out and do a trails walk with you. How do people get hold of you?
Perfect. So, well, for the Foundation for Walking, it's a Chembo Foundation. So TSHEMBO_Africa Foundation. They can look that up on the web. They can find it there. There's a web page. It's on all the social media platforms. They can find out how to donate. And please, I encourage anybody to donate. Or if people want to walk, get out there and walk. Somebody will sponsor you, and that money will come to the foundation and go to the Hlokomela Food Parcel Fund, which would be fantastic. People want to get hold of me, they can look up Open Skies Wilderness Trails, and you can find me there.
Bruce, thank you so very much for chatting. Congratulations on this achievement. I think it's the Guinness World Book of Records should be chatting to you about this, just because of what you've done. Listen, you missed the one. You told me you missed the one for the Cape to Cairo walk because your logbook was stolen. So maybe there's something here. I'm hoping for your sake. And thank you for taking time out to chat to me.
Absolutely pleasure, David. It's always a pleasure, and thank you for inviting me.
That was Bruce Lawson chatting to me about his